What's up, good people? It's your boy, Bro Troy. We are back at it again. We are right here. As you can tell, you hear the ball bouncing. We're at the J.D. Lewis Center. We got my man making me look short around here, man. Not that I was very tall in the first place, man, but we got my man David West. What's going on, brother? How you doing, man?
Sir?
Good, man. Hey, man, we here. The Bro Code is in the building.
Absolutely.
Look, we're in the gym. Tell us more about this space and how you play a part.
This is the J.D. Lewis Center, but this is basically the home of the Garner Road Basketball Club. It's a club that I played for when I first moved down here to North Carolina. This is where we handle business.
Yeah.
Our guys work out.
Yeah.
Guys train. We have year-round, basically year-round program stuff. We got young kids as young as second grade.
I see my man and jumped in. He's like, what's happening?
All the way to 18. So
wow.
We do it big here.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
What comes to mind when you walk into the gym? See the sights, smell the lacquer on the floor. Like, what are the thoughts that go through your head?
Nothing. It's just a place where I know, young people have a space. We really try to commit to getting people better in terms of the game, in terms of basketball. And we've been. Coach Hank started this thing like 30-something years ago.
Yeah.
My brother was a director for a long time here. Now we're just trying to keep the thing rolling with new and fresh minds. Yeah.
So Garner Road AAU is nationally known.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. But let's talk about locally. How important is this facility for the kids local, for the culture of basketball?
Yeah, we've been around a long time. Like I said, this is where I played when I first got down here. And we just try to make sure that we provide a space for the kids. We provide an opportunity for them. And, we continue to try to find different ways to engage them or keep them active.
I love it. We're going to talk more with David West right here on the Bro Code Show in the gym at the J.D. Lewis Center. We'll be right back.
Hey, yeah. The life. I said it's the life. Yeah. Hey, yo, I see y'all out there living y'all life, man. Live it up. I went from sleeping on the bunk inside a cage to home ownership. While people was afraid of that life, I was condoning it. It helped that I was raised with a mice known to roam. If you got it out the mud, I slept there.
We're back on the Bro Code Show. We are sitting down now here with the man, the myth, the legend, David West. Feeling good?
Yes, sir.
Hey,
yes, sir.
we did the walkthrough to the gym. We talked a little bit more about that, but we want to dive into the conversation, okay? First and foremost, though, we have a scene that says you have 90 seconds or less to run your resume. I think that's your camera right there. So put some respect on your name and let the people know who you are.
Whoa. David West was born and raised in Teaneck, New Jersey. Moved to Garner, North Carolina in 1996. I grew up playing basketball, playing sports. Right about the time of about 7th or 8th grade, had to make a choice. I was an okay baseball player, really liked baseball, but basketball was like the first love. Plus, I was like a size 17. Started growing crazy, had like a 5 to 6 inch growth spurt in like a few months. So basketball kind of chose me. Did okay as a young player in high school. Came down here and really, got my legs up underneath me. Was able to come in, play right away at Garner, win a lot of games. Went to military school for a year, which got me more exposure and grew me up a lot in terms of just learning how to play and how to be an adult, be independent. So military school has a way of doing that to you. Then I went to Xavier. I got a scholarship. Was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to Xavier University in Cincinnati, Ohio. 4 years started there. Won a lot of games. Player of the Year 3 times in the same conference. National Player of the Year at the end of all that. Was drafted by the New Orleans Hornets at the time, who are now the Pelicans. 18, played 8 years there. Was pretty proud of what we were able to build there. Went on to Indiana as a veteran, different time in my career, but was able to really establish a young group and help them figure out how to win. We had championship caliber teams,
That's true.
weren't able to get past the Heat.
Yeah.
Then I just, after 4 years in Indy, decided that it was time for a change. Went to San Antonio, which was my dream. They were my team growing up. Tim Duncan was my favorite player. Dave Robinson was my favorite player growing up. So had an opportunity to just get in that culture. for a year, which helped. And then last 2 years of my career, 14 and 15, I was fortunate enough to play with the Warriors, win a couple championships, and sail off into the sunset, man. Yeah, so that's it.
That's what's up, man. That's a heck of a career, man. Like that's a PBS story all by itself, right? Well, a lot of people know you for that, man. I want to hear and see another lens of David. So we got this thing called rapid fire questions.
Okay.
All right? First thing that comes to mind. You ready?
Yep.
You got to pick one and tell us why.
Okay.
Public Enemy, Wu-Tang, or Tribe Called Quest?
Tribe Called Quest, probably because I'm kind of a Q-Tip fan. I like the vibe. Unassuming type of deal. Wu-Tang's cool. A little out there. Public Enemy, I wasn't young and I wasn't old enough to quite understand.
I can dig it.
What they were doing. So
Okay.
Tribe Called Quest.
What is the NBA championship series you will always remember? Whether you were in it or not. Because he won 2.
I won 2. But I mean, probably the most, I'll tell you, the most impactful was when Isaiah and them beat the Lakers. That broke my heart, man. I was a Magic Johnson fan. I'll never forget it. My mom let me stay up. I was in 3rd grade.
I'm about to say, I was
in
like, hold
3rd
on,
grade.
man.
She let me stay up and watch the game. And
Wow, you remember that?
I was heartbroken. Because I was a huge Magic Johnson fan. And, everybody was all Lakers at that point, man. And so when Detroit came up and knocked them out, but that was a kind of a good experience for me because I don't know, man. I felt like I lost that.
Yeah, right.
But I was up the next day ready to just compete. I'm gonna help. It was just something in my mind, man, about the Lakers losing Isaiah and those guys in Detroit.
Triggered something.
Yeah, triggered something. In a good way.
Okay. Do you like dogs?
I do.
If you could be any dog, what dog would you be and why?
Pitbull.
All day?
I love pits, man. Yeah, I had a couple pits that are not with us anymore, but just really good, strong, unassuming. But if you push them to that point, it's the last thing you'll.
Once they latch on, though, that's a wrap.
Right.
You got a fellow dog lover, man.
Man, I fostered dogs a little bit.
Okay.
First couple dogs I ever had with pits. So
yeah.
Shy at first, but I warmed up to them.
Absolutely.
So New Orleans, Indiana, San Antonio, and Golden State. Which city gave you the most love and the best experience?
Oh, it's gotta be New Orleans. As much as I love the other, but there's no place like New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Nice.
Was it all circle, like food?
Yeah, see,
hospitality.
I was in New Orleans 2 years before Katrina too, so I remember old New Orleans and just the rich culture and the. It was quite an experience living down there.
Some in the gumbo.
Yeah, the food and the people. It's got to be New Orleans. I love my time, and I literally tell my wife now that was the only place I kind of wish we had maintained some sort of like literal connection, either a home or something. Because I would love to be able to go down and spend some time, more time than I do now there for sure.
Okay. Yeah. What's one thing that people misunderstand about you?
Well, I'm very introverted, but I'm highly opinionated, so it's kind of right. So highly opinionated introvert is kind of like, But I mean, I'm pretty sociable. I just don't like being around a lot of people, especially people I don't know. Right. So, once I get to know you or whatever, we can have conversations just about anything. So,
I can dig it. What do you think about our conversation so far?
Good.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Right.
Last but not least, man, I got one more. What's one piece of wisdom you'll never forget?
Man, that's tough, man, because I'm one of these people, man. I'm a history, I'm working on my master's in history, but I've got a good memory. So I probably, my dad has a bunch of sayings that have stuck. My grandmother, I mean, it just depends on what kind of flavor or angle you're looking for.
Spiritual or you want straight to the point?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it could vary, but I would probably say like, from my dad, he would say, never buy what you want and beg for what you need. So it was, that has always stayed with me. That's one of his more profound things. See, my grandmother, she had a lot too. My mom, I mean, probably just be proud, hold your chin up. Because when I was going through this weird growth thing, And then when all of a sudden I got tall, man, I was like this. And she didn't like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, she always tapped me on my chin, chin up, chest out.
Tighten up.
Yeah, it's something I've always, I even preach it to young, big kids I see now,
Sure.
right? A little young kid who's maybe not as confident as he needs to be. I know exactly where he is. I joke with my son. My son is like 5'10", 150 something. And I tell him when my sophomore year, I was 6'4", 138 pounds with a size 17 shoe. And so it's a bad stage, bro. It was awkward, man.
You had boats, they called them
man.
cruise ships.
And I had those before the height. So I always had these monstrous feet, and the height came last. So, yeah.
I love it. Well, hey, rapid fire questions with David West. Let's make it happen, man. So we're going to dive into this conversation. What you got, bro, Smith?
Man, I could go a bunch of places. Now, you talked about how you kind of fell into basketball, or basketball kind of fell into you, but when did it really click that I can make a career out of this?
Oh, well, I was always a dreamer. I always dreamed about playing at the highest level, whatever it was. Like when I was a freshman in high school, I dreamed about playing on varsity. And, you know, when you're in high school playing on varsity, you start dreaming about playing at the collegiate level. The NBA was always like a dream. It was always just like now, right? Kids say, I'm going to the NBA. But I didn't really believe it until probably like my freshman, sophomore year in college, when I started hearing people that I didn't know. You know, as an athlete, it's one that your mom, your dad, your cousin, your uncle, they ain't gonna always tell you how great you are. But when when it's this random coach somewhere that saw you play one time and he starts talking about this guy's got a future, and that's when it started to hit me. I was at 5-star camp as a counselor after my freshman year in college, and we would play these high-level pickup games with the other counselors. And I was just doing what I usually do, just playing. And then, I don't know if you remember, but like, I think his name was like Coach Garfinkel, who was like the old school. And there was like this holy grail of like these older gentlemen that had like started 5-star and saw Michael Jordan. And so after one of the camps, they're talking to the campers about some of us counselors. And he mentioned, he's like, we got this young kid from Xavier, he's a freshman, but he's gonna be an NBA talent one day. And I'm sitting there like, oh. And it was stuff like that. Tom Crean at Marquette did something similar to me where I was like, wow, he just was like, yo, this dude's gonna be in the NBA. And I'm like, yo, y'all hear this guy talking, man? And it was hard to believe that he was talking about me, you know what I'm saying? But it's always different when other people are saying it. And that's when I started to believe. Like my brother was always, yo, my dad, but like people you don't know who don't have anything to stand to benefit from you being successful, start saying it, insinuating it. That's when it really started to strike me as like, yo, this could be a real thing. You gotta really, go after it more.
Well, let me ask you this then. You played with a lot of talented players, KD, Steph, Chris Paul, or even the folks that you played with at Xavier.
Right.
No shade to anyone, but who would you say has been your favorite teammate throughout the years?
Okay, so not best player. You just said favorite teammate.
Favorite teammate, not best
Right.
player.
I would say so I've had a couple, but my teammate that passed away, Rasul Butler, he was probably one of my closest teammates because we knew each other from college. We competed against each other in college in the same conference, and he just knew how to push me and get me to certain places, which and would challenge me in ways other guys wouldn't, which I always appreciated. But he was one guy. We had another guy in Indiana, Danny Granger. I played with Danny for only 2 years, but Danny's a tremendous teammate, man. Just like, different kind of leadership style, but very, very good in terms of just when I got to Indiana, he kind of made room a little bit for me and my leadership style, and he wasn't combative or, trying to, he's like, yo, this is what they brought you in here for. Do your thing, So he was always a good one. And then, man, I gotta, when I played that year in San Antonio, man, all them dudes, bro. The minute you get there, you realize why they're all successful. You're like, dang.
From the head down.
Yeah, you just realize why they had such tremendous careers and had that type of stretch that they had.
What was the takeaway you got from them, like that type of structure?
It's just being coachable. You know, I joke with Tim, man, about, I mean, he needs to write a book on it. You know, being coachable, man. And
Tim, we need you on the show. Just want you to know.
you know,
Why are we talking about you?
Yeah, but just being coachable, man, and allowing to be poured into regardless of the level that you are. I always felt like when I saw it live, I was like, well, that's your secret. You know, that's kind of the secret sauce that people don't realize is, you know, guys of that caliber still allowing themselves to be coached and pushed and critiqued and corrected. You know, that's what I learned the most being in that.
Is he really a gentle giant? Like the demeanor that you see him play on this?
Tenacious competitor though. You know, when I was there, I was there with him year 19, and he was basically on one leg. But on
It was a
the
good
right
leg.
night, but on the right night,
That's all you need?
he would bake you, bro. I'm talking about put you in the blender and you'll be done. Now you can only do it for 3 or 4 minutes at a time, but you would be like, oh wow, you know. And he did that, you know, literally on one leg for that last show.
Did you get baked a few times in practice?
Oh yeah, I mean, I learned. Manu still owes me a one-on-one too.
Yeah, Mono, we need. I know you retired and all, but yeah, indeed. That's what's up, man. What you got, bro? Oh, we got to pay the bills, don't we? Yeah, let's pay the bills real quick. We got David West. We're talking all things wellness, basketball, and everything in between right here on the Bro Code Show. We'll be right back.
Oh, you made it. Hi. Come on in. Well, welcome to Petals and Stem Spa. I'm Cynthia Bailey. So Petals and Stem Spa is a place where everyone can come and release things. I often say, come in here, release all your demons, and I'll phase them out when you leave. I want you to come in here and feel lighter when you leave. A few services that we offer are, of course, the Yoni Steam, which is great for anyone that has a vagina. We offer the Lingam Steam, which is great for anyone that has a prostate. We also offer crystal detox services, foot detox services, reflexology, and music and vibration therapy.
So we're back here on the Bro Code Show, and we're sitting with Dave West. Dave, you know what? We jumped over something, and we really want to talk about the impact of a few people in your childhood. Your father, Amos, mom, Harriet, and your big brother, Dwayne.
Yeah.
Talk to us about, I read somewhere your father worked for the post office, and so did your mom. Dad also had a couple other side hustles, maybe was a DJ and worked in the church. And mom would come home from work and take care of the family. What kind of impact did your parents, first of all, have on you? And then we'll get into Dwayne later.
Right. Well, you know, I'm very fortunate, and I tell people this all the time. My parents had me and my brothers, well, had my brother, my older brother, but there's a gap between us. So it's like a 16-year age gap between my older brother and me.
Wow.
There's like a 3-year age gap between my sister, who's like 3.5 years older than me. Then we have a younger brother who's at like 2 years. So we're kind of gapped. My mom and dad my dad was born in New Bern, North Carolina, and lived between New Bern and Mount Olive for most of his life. And you know, my dad was born in 1938. My grandmother, who I remember had my life for 18 years, his mother was born in 1905. My grandfather was my dad's father was born in 1911. My mother's mother was born in, my mom was 1919. I think my youngest grandparent was born in 1925. And I say that, and I tell people that all the time because that got up here.
Sure.
And so when your grandparents are telling you stories and giving you, you know, sort of guidance and what they lived through in their experiences, it shapes you. And so where a lot of my friends had, you know, modern grandparents or even, you know, parents who were, you know, a lot younger than my parents, they weren't getting the same information. So I got you know, very lucky. My parents were both you know, Christians, and so we were raised in church. We were in Brooklyn every weekend. I was telling somebody the other day, in Brooklyn for church every weekend until I was 12 or 13 years old. And we went to church, like, you know, the old time church, right? So you're in there all day, Friday, Saturday.
Stomping church.
Yeah, man. So,
Butterscotch, that's all I got.
you know, when you're a kid going through that, you don't understand the type of impact it's having. But then as you get older, you realize, you appreciate it. You've got a good moral and ethical, you know, background, and footing to stand on. So I've never forgotten that. And then I watched my parents just provide for us. We never wanted for anything. We were not rich, didn't have money by any stretch of the imagination, but my dad was a worker. He worked in the post office, he was Army reservist, he DJ'd, a gospel show on the weekends, jazz, late nights, and did what he had to do for his family. And my mom worked in early childhood education, to sort of fill in the gaps, but they made it happen for us. And I'm always appreciative of it. I'm humbled by it, but I'm shaped by sort of their experiences and experiences of my grandmothers and grandfather, who all passed since, but I had them long enough. My last grandmother passed when I was 19, but that's a lot of time to learn and for them to instill certain lessons in me that I never forgot.
It's funny you say that. I was talking about my grandfather lived to be 101, man.
Yeah.
So he was born in 1920. So to actually have someone that has lived through some of the things that you read about in history books hits a little different. Bro Smith, similar situation when it comes to his siblings, right? And all of us have special relationships either with our parents and our grandparents. We work with youth every day, man. We have contract with Wake County Public Schools. We're in 10 different schools. We do K through 12, even post-grad. And oftentimes I hear socially awkward. Like I've heard the kids say this, right? And let's be honest, man, all of us feel a little socially awkward. You said, hey, I'm an extra introvert, but I'm also an extrovert when it comes to me having ideas and something to speak up about. So here it is, you 138 pounds, got size 17 shoe, you 6'4", however tall you were in high school, man, you're dealing with that. Like how did you now transition from becoming that grandma saying, hey baby, I need you to pick your head up, man, and be the David I know you to be, to go into Xavier and being a beast?
It just, so basketball was my safe space. And so when I got in the game, that's where I could, everything that was inside, it could come out. Now off the floor, I'm chilling, man. I remember at Garner, they were like, bro, this dude is so weird. I wouldn't sit at the cool kids table. I ain't hang out. I never got into that. You know what I mean? I was just cool being me. And then, the basketball thing in my mind was something totally different. We don't play around with that. We get out there, it's all business. We handle what we gotta handle. So, it's always been that way for me. I've never really got, even in the NBA, even in college, I never really got away from that. I meet a friend, if we're cool, at 19, did you see the big head? That was my first friend, one of my first friends that I met when I came in. That's my dog right now, to this day. Same thing in college. The guys I met the first day, my homeboys, man. We're Trump tight, and it's just the way it is. But like I said, it's I was informed by the people around me, my family, and their experiences really helped shape me.
I love it.
Now, I want to know more about the space that we're in, though, and why was it important for you to come back, invest your time and your money back into the kids here? I mean, a lot of players, they just go Miami, LA, I'm done. Why would I come back to Garner? I mean, no disrespect to Garner, but
I got you.
But why do you invest your time here still?
I mean, it was weird. So when I was in high school here, I had an experience. There was a guy who was playing pickup basketball, and I got the best of him the first time. Second time around, I'm just a young 17-year-old kid, but I got my size, and on the court, man, I would challenge anybody. So he got the best of me the second time around, and I remember saying, hey, man, where you learn some of this stuff? And it was kind of one of those things where the guy was real short with me, kind of brushed me aside. And I remember saying to myself, if I ever get an opportunity to get to that level, I'll never treat a young person seeking out, information and stuff for me that way. So that kind of was the trigger. And then when I got to college, I had Coach Skip Prosser, who was my coach at Xavier, right? So he had this thing where he made us coach in the summer in his camp. And he told me it was about learning how to, seeing the game from the coach's perspective So he expected us to like hold practices, implement plays, like really coach the kids. But what it did was it kind of made me fall in love with impacting, sort of getting kids at that young age and coaching them. So as time went on, you know, my brother got more involved with the program here. He had moved down here now. You know, the program was kind of in a transition phase where, you know, I don't know if we had like John Wall was in the program at the time, but the program itself wasn't a national type deal. So John went on and went and did some things nationally, and it was no fault of, you know, anyone's, right? It's just Garner Road at the time wasn't the platform that he needed. So in my mind, I was like, man, I want to be a part of it. So my brother got a part of it, and then, you know, the group next door, some situations popped up financially, and somebody from the board came to me and said, David, there's a great opportunity to get the J.D. Lewis Center and you know, keep it in our hands and make sure that, you know, you guys have a home base for the basketball club. So I jumped right on it. Yeah. And we've been rocking and rolling ever since, man. Just trying to, you know, maintain the legacy, keep things going, keep giving kids opportunities to play, but, you know, more than anything, keep giving them an opportunity to earn college scholarships, you know, and continue their basketball careers.
I love it.
That's great. You mentioned your brother.
Yeah.
He's been here.
Yeah.
I've seen him work.
Right.
He does it with a certain passion.
Right.
You say he was 16 years older than you.
Yeah.
How much of an impact did that 16 years? I think he's a former D3 player. Mm-hmm. How much did his knowledge, without him, are you in the NBA?
No. He was my first, you know, real sports hero in terms of, you know, him and his whole basketball team at Jersey City State. You know, I remember those games, man. I was itty bitty too, man, you know, and I just remember, you know, wanting to be where he was. I had his basketball jacket on my wall, their media guide on my wall. You know, that's where the passion and the love for the game developed. And then when he stopped playing, he was working for Lipton, and Lipton had corporate seats to Nets games in Rutherford. So he took us to every Nets game possible. So I just was always just, you know, fascinated and locked in with the game. And funny enough, man, I think it's 1991, PJ Brown was a rookie. And then literally 2003, I was a rookie. And I showed him this little banner that he had where I was a kid, 11, 12 years old, and had him sign it for me. Wow. And then literally, you know, like 12, 13 years later, whatever it was, he was my vet, because he was like 13 years in, I was a rookie. So it was always, again, it's like that circle in the game, right? But my brother was responsible for all that, man. Just every time he came to the house, you know, he was like, yo, you got to play me one-on-one. And then eventually he was ducking me because I was better. And, you know, he had me playing in his men's leagues. I was 9, 10 years old. Wow. And all his after college basketball ended for him, he kept playing summer leagues. He'd be pulling me along. So I'd be his point guard, and this guy's 15 years older than me, but I'm playing. And that just grew me up. You know, it just helped me get better. And then having, you know, guard skills and being able to pass when I hit my growth spurt, you know, everything just came together. You know, so I don't know if he was a visionary, but, you know, he was a big part of just the development that I had in terms of getting better and growing confidence in my ability to perform on the floor.
That's a great question. I mean, it hits close to home. It's mentorship. We're big on mentoring. Yeah. So outside of your brother, was there any other coach or anyone that really made a difference in when you were growing up?
I'm telling you, man, I got lucky. You know, I got super lucky. Like I got, you know, all of my coaches at every single junction of my life, like starting with like Coach Hector Aquino, right, was like one of the first coaches, him and Coach Snyder and Coach Eddie Muldrow, who's no longer with us. Where was that at? It was in New Jersey. But these guys, I was like 6, 7, 8 years old, and they were coming to my NBA games.
Really?
Yeah, like stayed engaged, tracked me all the way through, still giving me critiques.
They saw it too.
Yeah,
clearly.
And it was, but again, never had like bad coaches. I had coaches that taught lessons, and I know guys that have had awful experiences with coaches, right? But I'm not one of those guys, man. I got lucky with my high school coach when I came down to North Carolina. Even my JV coach in New Jersey, Coach Cangelosi, I remember him telling me, you don't want to be a big stiff, you better learn how to stretch. And I used to think about that. And then when I got to like college, I was like, man, he was right, yo. I should have been stretching all along.
No stiff, right.
I came here to North Carolina and I was a little dismayed by not being a varsity player in New Jersey. But Coach Gray, like just, you know, he and Levi Beckwith just pumped life back into me in terms of the basketball, man. Like, the first day I walked in Garner, Levi saw me. He was standing at the, standing with his back to the gym as the kids are getting off the bus. He's like, yo, where are you? Who are you? Like, where are you? You in this school? And the next period, Coach Gray came, pulled me out of school. And I was telling him I didn't know if I was going to play basketball. And he said, yo, if you're going to be in this school, you're going to play basketball. And that's the end of that. College, the same. You know, when I went to military school, Coach Keats was the assistant coach. Coach Keats was the head coach of
NC State.
Yeah, I was about to say the same.
Coach Keats pumped all kind of, you know, he pumped all kinds of confidence into me. I went to Hargrave, one of the few guys with not a whole lot of looks. I wasn't getting, I didn't have any scholarship offers officially. And I came out of there, man, with everything I needed. And he was a big part of that. He and Coach Shepard, again, just guys willing to pour into me and just, you know, help me along the way. And then in college, it was the same way, man. I've got, you know, Coach Prosser, who's one of the greatest people I've ever met, who's no longer with us, but Coach did something to me. Coach Mata and his whole staff, I mean, literally just the best, you know, Coach Major, Coach Gross, Coach Miller, Chris Mack, Dino Gaudio, just some of the Jeff Battle, who's the one that really discovered me. You know, I just got lucky, man. That's what I say, man. And then in the NBA, it was the same thing. I just got lucky with the coaches.
Herb Popovich, okay.
Yeah, I'm telling you, even Byron Scott, man. Coach Scott, man, it's just, you know, I had Tim Floyd as a rookie, and then go to Indiana, and you know, you got Donnie Walsh, who's like the president, and Larry Bird, the general manager, Frank Vogel, and the staff he put together in the years we had there in India. I mean, just, I'm one of the few people that would tell you, man, like, when it comes to coaches and stuff, I hit the jackpot. Yeah, I did. I really did, man.
I love it, man. Well, it's clear that there's a few people that make a huge difference in your life, and you've had many. So I guess you can say you are lucky.
Yeah, very lucky.
We got to pay the bills. We'll be right back with David West on the Bro Code Show.
Sir.
No one's ready to deal with us. What?
So back here on the Bro Code Show, and David, you know, there's a lot going on in our world when it comes with morals and values, especially when we talk about African American people.
Money.
Man, being an NBA player, you really can't just go out there and say whatever you want and do whatever you want based on, supposedly, you know, you're an employee, you're getting paid. But there's been some athletes, Kaepernick, let's use him, that took a stand. 2005, you took a stand too. And I'm gonna use the word conviction. One of your owners was talking about the way you guys should move as a team, and you found a little error with it. Can you talk to us about that?
I think you're talking about the anthem. Well, I just thought that, you know, I'm a man of peace, and I believe that, you know, we should strive toward peace and creating peace in the world amongst human beings. And so I just thought that with the climate, you know, we had just gone into Iraq, I believe, and we were starting that whole fiasco. It was getting heating up, and you know, again, I'm a peace activist. So my whole thing was, you know, what are we doing this for? And the comment was made something like, you know, this country's been good for you, and so that was like, well, yeah, I'm not doing it though. Like, we're not doing it. And you know, our guys told me like, hey man, you may need a contract extension. I said, I'll get that because this is basketball. And I'm one of those people that just believes like, I'm not just gonna say something, right? If I give you my opinion, it's coming from an informed place. I'm gonna have, you know, somebody else and something else to sort of reinforce what I'm saying. It's not just me talking out of emotion or off the top of my head. So that's where that came from. It was more so the climate, you know, and my personal sort of convictions and how I feel about, you know, war and and the need for us as a society and a domestic society, but also a global society to be marching toward peace.
Yeah.
Why was it important to you? You know what I mean? Like, why? I don't know, man. Like, young kids now, they're playing ball, man. They're making all this money. Like,
Yeah.
I really want to know, like, why though? You know what I mean? Like, why was it up to you? Why did you have to hold the torch?
And I didn't feel like that. I just felt like it was a question that was literally thrown to us, and that was my answer. You know, it was heartfelt. It wasn't from a place of malice, and you know, nothing came of it. Like, you know, that's where I always questioned that whole narrative. Like, guys can't say stuff or can't, like, you know, you have to be honest and realistic about where you are in the world. But then you also realize, like, okay, you know, you're a professional athlete. You know, you can't center yourself in these struggles or either. But you can support. You know, you can lend a voice. You know, you can, if you see something that's not right, you can say something. But not everybody is informed enough to say anything, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I've always just felt, like I said, I'm introverted. So unless you pull it out of me, I'm not just gonna volunteer my opinion. But if you know, sort of pose a question to me and I have an objection with, you know, or you have an objection with my answer, I mean, we can discuss anything.
Now, one of those things over time, especially as you got through college and the league, that it seemed like you had an objection to was how collegiate athletes are paid,
Right.
or if they're paid at all.
Right.
Now, the last couple of years, we've had the NIL deals that have been popping around. But tell me more about the League A that you were trying to start, the Professional Collegiate League, and just your thoughts on the environment in college basketball.
Well, I'll say this, you know, the PCL was an idea of someone who worked tirelessly to, you know, on the rights, on the behalf of athletes and their rights. And regardless of whether it's men's, you know, college basketball or football, you got large labor forces that are predominantly black, producing wealth and career opportunities for everyone but themselves. So there's a fundamental problem there. And so I joined the group with that in mind. You know, regardless of the idea about the league and the objectives of making money or anything like that, it was more so, let's stand in the void, let's raise our voices and bring attention to this. And we would internally feel like, you know, we're part of the reason why things changed so quickly. You know, because we were, you know, and we still are working toward making sure that that playing space for athletes is as fair and as equitable as possible. And there's a long way to go, but they've opened, you know, some things have happened to make strides closer to that reality. But wherever there are players or people working, generating profits that they aren't necessarily being rewarded with or being paid out of, you know, we've got to speak to that.
But you, hold on. So you said, so you're an athlete, you're getting a scholarship. So a lot of people will say, yo, you're getting paid to go to school, but they don't understand that, okay, I got a Pell Grant.
Right.
And you said this, I got a Pell Grant, but I need to eat. Like there's times where I couldn't eat. Right. And people don't really realize, is there some truth to that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you just think about, you know, if you're an in-state student, right, and you go to a state school, right, you know, that's not a $3 or $4 million scholarship. It doesn't cost that much for you to go to the school, right? But that's what these guys generate. Now, we talk about basketball being one thing, you know, the NCAA tournament generating like almost $1.5 billion in 1 month. The players are driving that. And like I said, now, fortunately, you know, with this NIL thing, there is a space where they are being compensated, but they're not being compensated for their play.
That is true.
Which is a key distinction to make sure we never forget.
Yeah.
Now, you're also pretty outspoken when it came to just black coaches and owners in the NBA and the lack of them. Now, the NBA is a lot better than some other leagues.
Yeah.
You know, where do you see them now, and where do you see opportunities going forward?
Well, you know, I think if you look at the coaching thing first, you know, it's a very tough space, right? And I mean, the reality is, I mean, and I've kind of seen this in a few different ways, but as a black coach, you're under a different type of microscope, right? You're not necessarily given the best opportunities in terms of ready-made teams that some coaches are given. Typically, black coaches, at least in the NBA, are given, right, the rebuilds, right, the teams with rookies, younger guys. I'm not sure, other than maybe experience, you can sort of point to why certain guys are hired and certain guys are not hired. Again, I don't want to just say it's because they're black. I would say that it's more of a the structural inequities that are built into these things, right? And who people want to see in leadership positions. Right. And it's hard sometimes seeing black people in leadership positions, right? It's hard for our society, to really buy into that. And it's hard for guys to buy into that too. There's some dynamics that go on, particularly at the professional level when it comes to black coaches, that even myself, I had to make amends and really look at myself. I had Coach Scott was my coach for 6 years in New Orleans, and I didn't understand what it meant to have a black head coach in the NBA, and I could have taken more advantage of it in terms of valuing it more than I did when he was my coach, and same thing with his staff. But sometimes, hindsight is 20/20, and you see things differently after you've experienced them. But when it comes to, again, the ownership piece or the head coaching piece, I think it's a leadership thing, man. And you want to a buddy of mine, a guy just he says all the time, he says the presumption of incompetence is what follows black leadership, right? People presume that you're incompetent. They presume you can't get the job done. You can't coach the group. You can't get the X's and O's, right? You can't go out and get the donors and the sponsors. And that's kind of what Deion Sanders is up against in Colorado, right? It's like he's having to prove those sort of built-in disqualifiers that they're up against.
We want to talk more about wellness. I know we want to jump into that one. It's something near and dear to our hearts, but we got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
We'll be right back on the Bro Code Show with David West.
Commitment by having our two first responder groups presented together as one unit here today.
Now comes one of Raleigh's newest leaders, Raleigh Police Chief Stella Patterson, riding with us here today. In addition to 25 years in law enforcement, she served as a member of the U.S. Army Reserve. Chief Patterson committed to building trust within the community and making Raleigh one of the safest cities in America.
Walking with Raleigh Police Chief Patterson today, two groups of youth, YM4C, Young Men for Christ, a program created to plant seeds of hope, love, respect, creativity, and self-worth. The second group consists of members of the RPD Safety Patrol program. These fifth grade student leaders from various Raleigh schools.
And they're bundled up. They're looking good this morning. Now, Chief Patterson, who's committed to working with youth groups and teaching young men and women to be responsible and respectful residents, has her sights.
We're back on the Bro Code Show talking to David West. Look, David, we've talked about a whole lot, but we love our listeners. So we put out before this episode, hey, drop in a chat to us some questions that they would ask you. So let's see what they got to say, man. First and foremost, shout out to, what does it say, CK Sounds. Do you know a gentleman by the name of Coach Keenan?
Coach Keenan?
I don't know. What Coach Keenan and CK Sounds says that he wants to ask you, have you seen a difference of officiating since you retired?
Oh, yeah.
And if you think you could average more points in today's style of play.
Ooh, so I definitely have seen a difference in officiating. The game is geared toward offense. It's geared toward movement. It's geared toward scoring. Don't ask me whether or not it's good or bad, because I'm a little old school with it, because I do think that good basketball does maintain or encompass some level of defense and defensive strategy. And I think it's, with the way that they're calling the game, it's almost impossible to play defense now, right? You can't touch guys. When I played, and when I was playing, I said to myself, I'm never gonna become one of those guys that says when I played. But you can't. It's hard to talk without saying it. You know what I'm saying? But like the game, I've been out 5 years, and it is completely different. I mean, You know, if you just look at the scoring, our best, historically, some of the best defensive teams I was on was the teams in Indy, right? We were holding teams to 90s, right? I mean, the lowest scoring team in the NBA right now is like 105, 106 points a game.
Right. Did the bubble make that worse?
I don't know when they decided to make the switch, but it's all one-sided, right? So it's just who can outscore who. You know, obviously the three-point shot is coming to effect, but I definitely think I could be effective in today's game simply because nobody's physical.
They can't touch you.
Yeah. And so if you're a physical-minded guy, like you like driving, that people can't stop, they can't put their hands on you. So I would definitely be able to make a way for myself.
Okay, that question came from CK Sounds off of Instagram. Appreciate you reaching out.
Okay. Now we have another question that came up from what is this? Cats_Raleigh. Shout out to
Cats. What up, Cats?
Fontaine. Yeah, appreciate the hat too. Good looking. How was the transition from the NBA, or how was the transition from NBA to after the NBA?
You know, it was. There's always some doubt because the NBA has done a good job of trying to better prepare guys for retirement. So they, you know, basically once you get to year 10, 11, like they start insinuating, hey man, you know, you got an idea of what's coming next. You know, you want to go into coaching, broadcasting, or whatever. So I always, you know, had it on my mind. As a rookie, PJ Brown, one of the first things he told me was, hey, young fella, start preparing like this thing gonna end tomorrow. And I did. So I started saving my money. I started, you know, shoot, man, drove. I still got my old cars, you know, bought my stuff, them cool, tried to keep my, you know, like the standard of living in terms of how much I was spending down, and just didn't forget like the first 20 years of my life when I didn't have nothing, right? And always just thought about like, okay, bro, like you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. Never got into keeping up with the Joneses, but the transition, financially the transition was fine. The hardest part, and I didn't realize this until a couple years. You guys know like Dick LeBeau, the old school football coach, right? They played, and so he played, and then was like with the Pittsburgh Steelers or in the defensive coordinator position, other jobs in the NFL. But he was in the NFL like a total of 70 years, and that always like. It was something like 50, maybe not, maybe 7, but like 50 years, man, like something unreasonable. And I'm like, what would make somebody want to, you know, stay attached or in the league or to the game that much? And I thought about it when I retired. About a couple years after I retired, I realized like the one thing about the NBA, the NFL, right, the NHL, Major League, it's like everybody has reached their dream. So when you're inside that bubble, right, like you're no longer dreaming because you're there. So the trainers in the NBA, that's their dream, right? The head coaches in the NBA, that's their dream. The skill development guys, that's their dream. The players, that's their dream. So everyone around you is living their dream. Now when you go in, when you leave that bubble, all of a sudden it's like, well, man, they haven't gotten there yet. And this person is still working toward it. And I realized like that's the comfort that some guys say, you know what, I'll stay in this because this is where my dream was, and this is where my dream is. Now now the dream changes where you were a player, you transition, you say, man, now I want to be a general manager or a president or a head coach. So the transition is not difficult. It's adjusting to not being in that dream world anymore, if you will. Like I don't miss the basketball. I'm telling you, I don't miss the basketball. I don't miss the camaraderie, whatever. What I miss is like the attention. I miss the attention that the trainers put on your body. You guys talking about wellness. Like when you're in the NBA, they don't let you cough without, hey man, you all right? you start touching your hand. And, hey man, everything.
You worth millions of dollars.
Right. So, but you're like, man, but you never get sick. You know, people are always like concerned about your wellness because you got to be ready for the game. And so, as a retired guy, I'm like, man, I kind of missed that part, you know, because it's like any kind of ache, they got it. You know, you're on the massage, you're on the training table, man. You getting that worked out, man. You ain't gonna let that linger, man. Ain't nothing lingering. Ain't no ignoring nothing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I mean, that's where the transition, you know, for me, has been probably the most difficult. It's just been kind of like trying to figure out how do you get back to that dream? Because it's a crazy comfortable space, man. It really is.
Boom, you got it. Those are questions from our listeners and viewers. We love and appreciate you guys on the Bro Code Show. Shout out to Caps, man. We want to get into wellness, bro. What you got?
Man, this is my favorite segment.
Indeed.
For all the reasons, David, as black men, we don't talk a lot about wellness, mental health. That just growing up, we didn't talk about it. We've already said that. I don't know about your household, but you're right, you shake your head. But we work with children too, so it's really important for us to be transparent and authentic in everything we do, and talk about our emotions. So we do that. But I want to hear from the lens of an NBA player, because you have money, so you should be okay. You got big houses and cars. You can travel. But a lot of NBA players are coming. A lot of sports in general are coming out now saying, I'm not okay.
Right.
How much pressure is it when we talk about wellness to be an NBA player? Is that a real thing?
Absolutely. And it wasn't until I tore my ACL that I actually was the first time I spoke to a sports, really got into the whole thing about sports psychology and all that stuff. When you grow up in the 80s, right, it's like you fall down, get up, man. Do the elbow, you might get up, bro. Deal with it, handle it, figure it out. So I was in that mode for most of my life, really, right? And then, certain things, like I said, injury, something like an injury, all of a sudden you're trying to figure out, what's next? Am I gonna get back? Am I gonna be able to be what I was? You have to accept the fact that you probably won't be. Dealing with whether or not you're comfortable with how that person thinks you are now versus what you were before the injury. And that's just an injury. There are, I had a teammate who had been shot and had been lying about it his whole career. He actually told the NBA it was from the shrapnel on his leg was from a car accident. But he'd been shot as a child by his mom's boyfriend. And, me being nosy, I said, bro, what is that on your leg? I said, that ain't what, I know what that is. But again, nobody had addressed it. And I saw that dude lose his career because of some of the challenges that he was dealing with from, unresolved childhood trauma. And he wasn't alone. He's, again, I was fortunate enough to be in a spot where, I always had my dad, always had my mom, always had my brother. I got married young, so I always had my wife, and I think that's a huge factor in all of this too, is having a partner and someone who can take your mind away from the rigors of the job and the pressure that comes with being an NBA player. So I think it's a few ways we have to handle it. I had teammates that didn't deal well with losing, so they would overeat. I saw guys with family stuff, who wouldn't face it and, build up, and then one moment, but there's definitely a stigma. It's not as bad as it once was, but there's definitely a stigma about, your validity as a man, having to go and talk to somebody or being someone that, may show emotions in a certain kind of way. And I'm glad people are getting beyond that and, getting through it, finding avenues, and there's, people that you can talk to. There are programs that are popping up. It's not just a fly-by-night thing. I think, dealing with mental health challenges and just pressure, period, is something that we're going to have to continuously, watch these young people now with the social media. It's something beyond even what we had to deal with, right? So, I think it's highly important, and it should be, as we talk to college coaches, it's like you have to be tuned in and tapped in at that space. And even at the NBA, when there's money on the line, profits on the line, you have to be even more tapped in, because now that bottom line gets affected if you've got players and athletes who aren't mentally composed and in their right minds.
I've once heard that self-love is not selfish, it's necessary.
Absolutely.
So what does that look like for you?
That means waking up every morning and embracing and loving what I see in the mirror, man. Like never never doubting sort of who I am or what my capabilities are. I'm a big self-coach person in terms of, like, I don't understand how people don't coach themselves up. Like, I don't know how you've got to be your biggest supporter, right?
That's right.
You've got to be your own.
Pull them pom-poms out. That's right.
You got to be. And so, from a personal standpoint, that's literally one of the first things I demand of young players that I'm working with. Is like, yo, I don't care if you think you're as good as Kobe Bryant. I want you being confident in who you are, what you are, even if you're not even close to Kobe. I would rather you be confident and built up than to be, someone who just doesn't think that they're enough.
Yeah. And last but not least, man, I'd love to hear, and I asked Bro Smith this in another conversation, as black men, and we talk about the word healing, what is something that you feel, in your opinion, that we need? Like, what is a non-negotiable that we need? And I'll give you an example. You talk about being a married man. I love to be validated in my thoughts. So if I'm sharing something, especially as from a vulnerable space, I need you to listen to me. Like, I really need you to take it in, because if not, one, I'm gonna have angst about sharing that with you again, or living in that space because of the way you treated me in a space of vulnerability.
Right. I would say it's probably outside of the accountability. I would say it's more so the willingness to accept all of me, right? All of that I have, right? When you're playing professional sports in particular, people want you to focus on that and be that. And you have to be that, which is fine, because that's what got you there, right? But ultimately, it's like, I want you to understand that I value the other parts of me as much as you value the sports in me, and that's family members, right? Who, once you make it, man, all they see is you as the NBA man. Bro, I've been an NBA player 4 years. I was alive like 20 years before this, right? So that, for me personally, right? It's like, I don't want you just validating the basketball and only the basketball. Now, it's my job to make sure that other parts of my life are built up. I can offer more than just, myself as a physical specimen, because I think that ultimately helps in the transition that you spoke about before, right? Is building yourself up and having different ways in which you can be happy, and you can express yourself, and you can go explore and experience different parts of the world and life.
Multi-dimensional.
Yeah.
As black men, that's what we are. We are multi-dimensional.
Yeah, you have to be.
No boxes. I love it. Well, we've got more with the Bro Code Show. David West, we'll be right back.
So for me, YM4C this past year, a little bit over a year, YM4C has been a saving grace for me and my son. Darnell joined YM4C in February of 2020, right before COVID hit, and then I was in a car accident in March. And the support I received from Troy and the YM4C family, dinner being delivered, getting picked up to go get a haircut so he can be able to be presentable going to his 5th grade drive-through parade, because I couldn't drive. I had no vehicle. There was no one to take him to do it. But it's also allowed me to meet people, for me to find resources for himself. For me, he's 12. He's about to be 13. And I don't know how to raise a man. I don't know how to raise a boy. And without Troy, Mr. JC, because my son and Mr. JC, they have so many of the same interests. And there are so many things that I don't know about. And without them, for him to be able, there are things my son comes to me about, and I'm like, I don't know. Text Mr. Troy. Call Mr. JC. I don't know. Like, I have to really be able to be honest and say, I don't know. I don't have the answer. And sometimes I can't say, call your dad. It's call Mr. Troy, text Mr. Troy, call Mr. JC. It's Tuesday. You talk to them tonight, don't you? And it's truly, truly been a blessing for me. And it really has. And for Darnell as well. And just the little interaction that I've had with Aiden this few minutes, I look forward to myself as well being able to see the interaction and the growth that he makes as well in YM4C.
Welcome back to the Bro Code Show. This is David West. I'm gonna ask the guys some questions now. Who's up first? What was the thought behind naming your show the Bro Code Show?
Ooh, that's a good question. So there's three of us. We run a nonprofit. We started in 2020, and I think we wanted to have a narrative where we could tell our story and control that.
Right.
Three of us, we're brothers, Bro Code Show.
Good
There
shit.
it is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice, absolutely.
Yeah. What else?
Another question?
Well, you don't have to ask me.
All right, let's go. Come on. Ask you another question.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
This dude here.
How important is it for black to have what I would consider a black media platform? How important is that?
Oh, well, we give a certain perspective that a lot of other outlets can't catch because they don't live our story the way we live it.
Right.
And so what's cool about the work that we do is we get to tell those stories through the lens that we can understand, that
Right.
our audience can really picture and feel for themselves.
Good deal. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other questions, sir? It's cool being this tall, man. I really love
Is
this
it?
right here.
Yeah.
What's it, 6'8", 6'9",
That's
right?
7 foot.
This is 7 foot.
You
Oh,
up there,
nice.
You up there. Yeah. Based on where I got to shoot my eyes, you about 7.
I got you. I got you.
I got another question.
All right.
All right. What's been the toughest challenge so far in producing the show?
And we're perfectionists, so after every show, we're thinking, what did we do wrong?
Right.
How can we get better? What didn't we ask? How could we be a little bit more dynamic? And it never gets easier.
Right,
We're constantly
right.
challenging ourselves.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'll get off the platform
All
now.
right. What you got?
Boom. Last
more.
but not least, baby, let's
I
get
got
it.
you. Okay, let me think of a good question here. So, who's been your favorite guest so far?
You. Hey, that's a no-brainer. Like, you've been favorite best ever. You're the best.
Okay. All right. What? How about this? If there was a guest that you could talk to again, who would that be?
Man, we talked to many guests. One episode I would love to do again. I love Jess Averhart.
Okay.
Jess is a juggernaut woman. Plus, she has a dope crib, and we actually got a chance to do her episode at her crib twice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
yeah, absolutely. In her whole building. So everybody that lives in Jess building over there in America, Durham Bottling Company over there, American Tobacco. Yeah, we would love to come down there and do another episode.
Good deal.
You got any more?
I'm fresh out, man.
Fresh out. Well, hey, look, this is Flip the Script. David West, where the fellas at? Where the fellas at? Come on in, man.
I'll leave my chair, man.
You know that's inside. Oh, we got slide. Let's
Yeah,
slide to your right. Slide to your right. Boom. We asked you a whole lot of questions. First and foremost, man, thank you for playing along with us, bro.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? We love to have fun. We believe laughter is food for the soul. I'm curious, have you enjoyed yourself so far on the Bro Code Show?
Yeah, it's been really good, man.
Yeah,
Good
man.
conversation.
Yeah.
Holistic.
Okay. Man, you have an extensive network. Clearly, you have individuals that you can text that I just watch on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, is there anyone that in your network that you believe that would love to have a Bro Code experience? We call this segment Calling Them Out.
Right.
Right? This is your opportunity. We got about 8 cameras around here. Y'all can't see them. Look at one of them and let them know they need to be on the Bro Code Show.
If I had to pick somebody, I would say he was just through this building last week, and he really impacted our young athletes. And that would be Coach Nate McMillan. Local guy here,
NC State.
really full of a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
I played for him, really knowledgeable, down to earth. I think he'd be great for this.
I love it. You heard it. Nate McMillan.
Try to make it happen.
Hey, right here on the Bro Code Show, we need you. Love to sit down and have a conversation. Well, it is by no coincidence that we go by saying words matter. And we've talked about a lot of great words in this episode. But before the show, we asked you, we said, hey, what is a word that you would use to describe yourself? And we want to use that word now. I think you said reliable. Mm-hmm. Well, first and foremost, man, you could have picked any word. Why that one?
Because I think it lends toward consistency. And being dependable, someone who's just going to do what they're there to do. You can count on it. So that's kind of who I was as a player, as an athlete. Just try to be reliable. If someone's expecting something from me, try to do it the way that I can do it, but to the best of my ability. Be there when you need me.
I love it. I love it. We got something for you.
So we have a token from us from the Bro Code Show. We've all signed it. On the front it says "You Matter," and it says David West. It says your word, which is reliable. I just want to know, man, what you're doing here is making kids really realize they matter. Man.
Right, absolutely.
We want to get this to you.
Appreciate it, man. Yes, sir. All right.
I love it, man. Hey, look, $2 rich. I know you made a lot of money in the NBA, but you know, got a couple rings, you know, some plaques, some trophies, but hopefully that can make it in your study or your room or something like that, and symbolize how we make people feel in the Bro Code.
Absolutely.
Look, we always end the show the same way. It's with a positive vibe. I usually look up a quote, but I don't have one. So I'm curious, man, is there a quote that you have that you can end the show with on a positive vibe? Let the people know.
Yep. What do you think? Man, I've got...
It could be a song title. It could be a lyric.
I would say, and just live life, enjoy it. Just be at your best as often as you can.
There it is.
Just be at your best as often as you can.
You heard it. Be at your best as often as you can. Live life to the fullest. It's your boy, Bro Troy.
Bro Kirk. Bro Smith.
And we are the Bro Code.
Hey, yeah. The life. I said it's the life. Yeah. Hey, yo, I see y'all out there living y'all life, man. Live it up. I went from sleeping on the bunk inside a cage to home ownership. While people was afraid of that life, I was condoning it. It helped that I was raised with a mic, known to roam. If you got it out.
I'm David West. I just finished the episode of the Bro Code Show. It's a really good show, really good conversation, organic, a lot of good questions. You know, for an introvert like me, I was comfortable. Guys made me feel right at home. So it's a good deal.
You hold a scary future when drugs is a form of counseling. Okay, I get it now, you got them bouncing. I'd rather people focus on the words that I'm announcing. I discovered my worth by knowing God is my accountant. Blessing after blessing, will it stop? I'm still counting. Seeds manifest, good or bad, they still sprout. Mama